What's going on, everybody? It is your boy Zeke Pruitt here for another episode 5, that is, of the College Series 6 podcast. What's going on, everybody in the chat? Let me know if you're in here, guys, rocking with me. Still early in the podcast here, but I see Tor in the building, Jalen Brooks, Samaj J, Elijah, Kong Morris. What up, Rodney, Zach Tank, Zach Attack, Tyler Bishop, Yanni Ramirez. I'm seeing my guys in the building, Elijah Carter Jr. What's going on, guys? We got some things to cover for this week's podcast as we still get set up here. You know, I got to run that official instrumental back one more time. What's going on, Talon? Serious turmoil in conference play. A lot of shenanigans going on right now in every conference. But mainly we want to focus on the SEC. Will the SEC miss the playoffs? That is the ultimate question. We've seen the SEC struggle all season long, guys. And now we want to know. As we come down to the wire, we get closer in the second half of the season, what will happen in the SEC? Teams like Bama, LSU, Tennessee on the verge. All right. Let me see. Guys, make sure you hit that like button on the way in. Let's get it. Let's get it. What's up? What's up? What's up, y'all? Hey, let's run it up real quick. All right. We got that turmoil. What y'all feeling about LSU right now? How do y'all feel about LSU? I need to know in the comments. I need to know. What up, Damari? Damari Jones the third in the building. I see you, Playboy. I see you. We're gonna let this one go on down, this instrumental wind down, let everybody get comfortable. We're gonna bring it straight in too, guys. We coming in hot. Remember, we had a full week of crazy action, guys. Let me find, where's my phone at? Because I do have something I want to follow. Give me 1 second, fellas. Hey. Here we go. Here we go. Yanni said they still winning everything, man. What's going on, guys? Good evening, fellas. Wednesday night here. The day before we kick off week 9, guys. Big ups to you guys for tuning in. I appreciate everybody for joining here early on. If you can, go ahead and share that live. Get this thing going. I want guys to come in and check things out. I got a few joints I want to run to in the background while we getting things going, man. But week 8 action, guys. Started off. We're going to take you guys to Tennessee. He said we can't choke. What's going on? Penny, what up? Like, I'm still calling you Penny. But anyway, guys, let's get into it. So Alabama, Tennessee, week 8 started this one off. Alabama going down to Tennessee in, I wouldn't say blowout fashion, but they definitely did it in great fashion here, beating them handily, 23-10. Both teams going to 4-3 now. As we talk about this SEC, we got to talk about it. This is what we really were here for today. That's the headlines. Jaden Young came through, though, 23 for 34, 304 yards, a touchdown, and 2 interceptions. So he's still turnover prone. He's still turnover prone, but Diggs, what a night for this kid, Devontae Diggs. 8 receptions, 152 yards. Hightower matching him with 115 on the night, so, and a touchdown. So these two guys, this duo right here, they're looking to bounce back this week again and do the same thing as Jaden Young probably having his best game of the season. Bohannon struggling, man, under 200 yards passing, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. And you got Gregory held to 70 yards, Brooks held to 33. So this Tennessee defense was on fire, cooking. And as you see in the picture here, Diggs and Reno Hightower sharing a flick, getting the W 23-10, kicking off our week 8 on Thursday night prime time action in CS6, guys. How do you guys feel about this game? I don't know if you guys tuning in here, 23 strong. Did you guys feel like Bama was going to get a hold of Tennessee? Tennessee really needed this game. This was a big one for Tennessee, and they were able to hold on and get the win ultimately. As we swing things over to the Pac-12, you can remember, guys, that was a game that we were all looking forward to seeing. Wasn't quite sure who was going to get that W there, but, you know, Oregon came in, highly favored it. UCLA have some ups and downs, but ultimately, in the end, it would be Corey Baines and those guys, the ultimate running back there, Tamar Jones, just having a season, guys. I don't know how to call it, but this kid just flat out extraordinary this year. 261 yards on the ground. Friday night action. I'm talking Friday night lights, guys. He put on a show. A touchdown, 35 attempts for 261 yards. I'm told that a record was actually over 300 yards, so he did not get that to 300, but he did have probably the most of the season. Corey Baines, 21 for 29. Let's talk about it. Very efficient quarterback. Probably one of the most efficient quarterbacks in the league right now. 233 yards and a touchdown. And then, of course, Darrell Armstrong coming through with his 6 receptions and 117 yards. He's been a beast all season long. Teague kind of struggled up there, you know, almost 50 attempts, 26 completions, 304 yards, 2 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. That is where the story lied. This Oregon defense just completely had this team derailed, like just tore this offense apart. 5 interceptions. I cannot believe it. Oregon going to a 6-2 record now on that 29-13 victory. Just really mopped the floor with these guys. And you got to think, I knew that coming in, I said, okay, Oregon's probably going to get the W, but I thought UCLA was going to put up more of a fight. You know, these guys are high scoring for the most part in each week they play. So this game kind of threw me off a bit, but I gotta say I am impressed. I continue to be impressed by Corey Baines and this Oregon team here, and I'm just gonna keep my eye on them, man. Here they are, 6-2 on the season, at the top of the Pac-12 right now with this win here, guys. So big ups to the Oregon Ducks as they ended our Friday night showdown, defeating UCLA 29-13, and we took a trip to our Super Saturday. I'm gonna bring up the games, guys. We had 9 games. We had 5 in the 1 p.m. slate. Then we had 4 in the 4 p.m. slate. So I'm going to bring up these games now. I'll have to interchange one of the games because I only have 8 up at a time. So let's go ahead and have a look at these Saturday games. And guys, again, in the comments, let me know what were your favorite games on Saturday. Which game surprised you? Remember, we had quite a few upsets here. As I bring up these games, guys, we had quite a few upsets here. And I know LSU not going to like this one. I know they're not gonna like this one, man, but it's happening. It must be talked about. It must be addressed. I'm sorry, but it's going down. And here we go, man. So let's get into these games, guys. Of course, top 4 games. You had Ole Miss, Auburn. You had Auburn taking that W there. Yanni. Robbie Ashford had a solid game. Auburn, they're really scrappy on defense. Their offense is never going to do too much. Ashford only 196 yards and a touchdown. But T and T Crawford, they did have a night on the ground where T Crawford had 128 yards and T had 103 yards. And I believe he ran one back too off a punt return. Off a punt. So Auburn able to take that win 32-17, keeping Ole Miss winless, man. Like they have not won a game in the college series 6. So if anybody want to head over to Ole Miss, be my guest, man, because these guys could definitely use a helping hand. Moving over to Iowa and Wisconsin. Oh, what can I say? Mr. Shady Houston had himself a night if he's ever had one before. 23 attempts, 163 yards, and a touchdown for this young man as he definitely led and carried the Hawkeyes into a Week 8 victory over Wisconsin. And that was a tough one, but he went crazy from the gate. I'm talking about opening. Like, he just, first carry was out of the gate. So 163 yards for this young man, rookie or a freshman running back, putting on a show. and giving Iowa a much needed win. As we move over to Georgia and Texas A&M. Georgia is still on the roll. These guys are still keeping it cooking. And you want to talk about running backs putting on a show? Well, how about we move from him over to Zach Tank, 35 attempts for 241 yards and a touchdown. So I'm telling you, this was a running backs week. This was a running backs week. If you were a running back in this week and you didn't get at least 200, then I don't know what to tell you. I'd say at least 140 because it was just the type of week it was. I'm talking about Shady 163, Zach 240 something, my man Tamar Jones 240 plus. So this was just one of those running back weeks, and Zach Tank able to carry this program to another victory here for Georgia as they continue to rise up the rankings and they continue to improve on the season here after a slow, rocky start. And then we move over to Oregon State. Talking about slow, rocky starts, Oregon State fell kind of low, guys. They have a lot of users over there. Of course, we had heavy expectations for these guys. Of course, a lot of people were talking, doing a lot of chirping before they came in due to them having a lot of users. They came out strong, but then they fell. They went in a slump, but guess what? They are back. They are now, I believe, 3 games strong now. 3 games strong as they take the victory over TCU. TCU is a very scrappy team. They done took down some teams before, and Oregon State was able to avoid the upset here. I believe they did get the win in overtime with a pass from CJ to Mike McConaughey. So still a solid game. Very impressive defensive unit. Despite Bailey running for 133 on the defense, the kid, Bearhoon Adam, had 12 tackles. Jay Wilson with 11 tackles. And, of course, one of my favorites, Relo Fields. He told you guys, Relo Fields told you he's one of the best safeties. He put up 9 tackles, 2 tackles for a loss, and a sack. So this kid Fields is tough. And I remember watching him make those plays out there, and they were very key to Oregon State getting the job done before Arnold got that interception in overtime, and they were able to seal that victory. And then you move over down to Washington, Mississippi State. Washington finally getting the win they needed. The first win of the season. Not trying to end up like Ole Miss. Malik Jones, 30 for 41, 240 yards, and 1 touchdown. Finally able to get it done with his partner in crime, Eric Barton, generic running back, 27 attempts on 110 yards. So this was a big night for Washington, able to get the win against who we deemed the upset guys earlier, the top seed killers, which was Mississippi State and Mike Wright and those guys. So Mike Wright and these guys not really holding strong as the season goes along right now for Mississippi State. Things have not been looking good as they take the loss here to Washington, 24-17. And again, Malik Jones, congratulations for getting that first win under your collegiate belt or collegiate career here in week 8. Moving over to Oklahoma State, Colorado. Tim Ricks and these guys just really taking care of business against Oklahoma State, rocking the all grays. They felt real good out there. Tim Ricks, 20 for 35. He had 293 yards and 3 touchdowns. So no interceptions, but 3 touchdowns. So he was able to get the points on the board they needed. And of course, this young kid, Dylan Edwards, still running the ball again. A running backs week. 39 attempts on 144 yards and 1 touchdown. So these running backs were going crazy. Dylan Edwards with another one. And then Corey Polley III, still heating up, still being that target over the top. Throw those deep bombs. He had a 52-yarder that night as well. He had 6 receptions for 100 yards. No touchdown, but 100 big-time yards for Tim Ricks, little Tim over there. And that was enough to carry this team to victory. Shout out to Jay Johnson, user-submitted safety. He was able to come away with an interception there in the end zone. That was really a key moment in the game there for Colorado to turn things around. So big win for Colorado, and they are definitely looking to move up the rankings and continue to compete in their conference as well. Moving over to NC State, Florida State, another one of those upsets that we talked about, guys, that went down this week, and this was a cold one right here. I mean, this was actually the first of 3 upsets, and this was that NC State, Florida State, 25-24. This game is one of those games where you really don't understand what happened. It really just unfolded. Where's my boy C-Botch? If he was in here right now, he'd be able to break it all down to you. He's always there watching the games, and I know he was upset with this one because they had this game in the bag. You see my guy number 6. This kid's a tank. He's a Penix. He was able to get a couple of nice plays towards the end to seal the deal. But if you look at the stat sheet here, both quarterbacks did their thing. Aaron Dixon with 111 QBR and Rhodes with 102 QBR. So both quarterbacks did their thing. 2 touchdowns for both, no interceptions. Lawrence Tofili for Florida State had 95 yards on the ground. Allen had 60 or 84 for NC State. But then if you look at the receiving, Jaheim Bell for Florida State, 142 yards. And Jay Wilson, Florida State, 126 yards and a touchdown. How does Florida State lose that game? Like, that's you'd have to be there in order to see and understand how they lost that game. They really just gave it away there. The defense fell asleep at the end. Rhodes was able to make a couple of plays down the stretch. They had the run game going. Allen and even Penix coming through for the win. The fullback they got over there for the Wolfpack, and they ultimately got the upset. They've been a tough team since day one. Florida State got caught slipping, and that's going to be a tough loss for Florida State. They were the top of the ACC, and they're going to come on down. They're going to come on down with that loss there, and that's going to be tough. But they are going to try to bounce back, like my boy Ekene. It's going to be tough. So that's what we gonna do. We gonna go call you guys by your high school names right now, or what? How you guys want to go? We going with the high school storyline. I'm liking it. I'm hyped. We're gonna have a little segment for that as well. But you know, I just wanted to take my time before I got to this next game because I got a lot of good guys on this team, and I mess with a lot of players on this team, and I feel kind of bad, man. But LSU and UNC, man, let's talk about it. Honestly, LSU is just a team that I really don't understand right now. They have all the talent in the world, all the user talent, a couple of good generic talent, but they just cannot close out games. I mean, they're playing well all game. They're making plays. Samaje Sims, you got to think Peyton. There's a lot of guys getting great numbers over there. Even Holden even ran for 100 plus. I think it was like 121 yards last week. So it's just it looks good, but then it falls short, you know, each time, and that's just been the tale of their season. Just Aiden's even leading the nation in passing yards, so it's like you can't say they just suck. I mean, they're doing something right, but they're doing something wrong, and what's wrong is just outweighing right now. I'm sitting at 4-4, 24-27 loss to UNC, and let's not take UNC lightly, man. These guys are one of the better teams in the ACC this year. Now moving to 5-3, they had a couple of dogs out there in the receiving core. That's been a light spot there. No shade to my guys like Legend Bell and Hargraves and these guys, but that secondary's been taking a hit this season. When you give up 120 yards to Albert Nance, and then you also give up 106 yards to Jay Branch and 2 touchdowns, that's going to be a tough night. And PV had a nice night, 11 receptions, 90 yards, and a touchdown. He's getting busy, 11 catches. That means he was the main target for the night. That is all Aiden seen out there. Then you had Finn Fowler with 7 receptions and 52 yards, and then our guy Samaje Sims with 3 receptions and 44 yards. So just not enough to get it done this time, guys. LSU was up, they blew a lead. UNC locked in the last couple of drives, last couple of possessions. They totally owned them offensively and scored. So very tough loss for this was supposed to be like the turnaround, I believe, for LSU. This was going to turn their season around rapidly, drastically. This was going to put them at what, 5-3. Now they sit at 4-4, and yeah, it's very interesting. They have to win out for sure. They have to win out, and they have to do it now. They can't look back. They got to move forward. Yeah, he said I'm flabbergasted myself. Yanni, I'm honestly I'm gonna take it there with you. I'm shocked. I'm very shocked. I'm not gonna lie to you. But let's pull up one more game here, guys, because I didn't have enough time to pull up another box there. So I'm gonna go ahead and just throw in this Florida game over top of one of these other ones here. There we go. So Michigan State, Florida, another big game here that Michigan State just blew and gave away, man. Had this game in the bag, and Brian Nix and these guys were able to trot down the field multiple times. Talk about a game. Brian Nix with 4 total touchdowns on the night. He had 2 passing touchdowns on 244 passing yards. He had an interception, but he had 2 rushing touchdowns. So this kid was getting to it. 11 attempts, 50 yards rushing, and he just was undenied. He didn't want to let this team lose at all, and he was not going to let it happen. And Trevor Edney also added 85 yards and a touchdown. So Florida able to make that comeback there and remain in position there in the SEC as the top dog. I mean, they only got 2 losses on the season, so these guys are cooking right now at 5-2, and it seems that nobody can really take Florida down. They're the sleeper team. Shout out to Quan Jenkins on the offensive line there, just doing his thing. You know what? This guy's the only guy has not let up a sack out of all the user O linemen. So Quan Jenkins hasn't given up one sack yet. So big ups to the freshman holding it down on the line, and he's got these guys, Brian Nixon, these guys with a 5-2 record in CS6, which probably nobody really thought about or nobody thought would happen in this season. So big ups to Florida. You know, shout out to Quan. He said he pulling a LeBron. You pulling a LeBron, you gonna take over, huh? This is the time. I mean, you're gonna have to. You're gonna have to, because if not, it's gonna get ugly, you know. But Saturday night, guys, we had ourselves a show between Texas and Penn State, guys. Casey Robinson and the boys were on the docket on the front line here, and they did not disappoint. I mean, they shut these guys down in every which way, almost back-to-back shutouts for Penn State. But you know, they were able to get some points on the board with a touchdown in this game to avoid that back-to-back shutouts. But you know, they were shut out in the previous week by Ohio State, and they barely survived here against Texas as Casey Robinson and his team just rolled over these guys 39-7. Casey 25 for 30. Talk about efficiency. 235 yards, 2 touchdowns. Jay Belt, another one of those dogs at running back. Another running back week. 39 attempts off 156 yards and a touchdown. JT3, 5 receptions, 80 yards and a touchdown. And listen, Texas is back, guys. 5-3. They had a little slump. Remember, they started off hot, right? And then they had a little slump. And now here they are back on top, 5-3 on the season, and looking to improve with each week that passes. Look at this kid, Shane Day. 13 for 30, 84 yards and an interception. Just 84 yards. They held DeAndre Reese to just 13 yards and 25 receiving. So it was ugly. Texas defense just put on a show. Penn State couldn't even get the ball probably over 5 yards. I mean, just look at these numbers and it'll tell you the story. It just really got ugly. It really got ugly. What's going on, Q? What's going on, Q Bot? So yeah, man, that game was our Saturday night showdown, an exclusive there. Penn State falling to 4-3. It's going to really hurt their chances moving forward. They had a window there. They did not capitalize, and they are going to fall out of contention, I'm sure, with that loss. But we will be seeing, because it's only the 3rd loss. It's a lot of 3-loss teams right now. So we'll see where this lands Penn State, if they could bounce back next week. But it has been pretty tough for them the last couple of weeks. No scores against Ohio State. Only 1 score against Texas. It's been a struggle, and Shane Day has to figure it out. One of the top passers in the nation when you want to talk about yards. But this kid's been struggling as of the last couple of weeks here in the league. So he's got to figure it out and get things going, as that was not a great showing at all for Penn State going down. Moving along to our Sunday night showdown, guys. Pac-12 showdown. Remember, we had Oregon take down UCLA earlier Friday night. And then we had another showdown between USC and Utah. The top team in the Pac-12, Utah, went down, guys, to SC. And if you were tuned into that game, you know that was an absolute thriller. I'm talking about, I can't call it. It was a comeback for the ages. It was just a crazy game. Still a great season for Utah, sitting at 5-2. Now USC moving up into that 5-3 group we talked about there. 30-27 on the road. 30-27. And this guy right here, David Lidge, had himself a night. 7 receptions for 124 yards. Generic tight end. Jay Jackson, Action Jackson, with that game-winning diving touchdown, finished with 89 yards. And Cinco Cardenas finished 20 for 30, 231 yards and a touchdown. Colorado Rivers was having probably one of his better passing games of the year. He did end up with 255, 2 touchdowns and an interception. Of course, Jay Smith, always going to give you a sure 100 yards on the night. 25 attempts, 159 and a touchdown. And freshman tight end Sergio Moreno, user submit, 7 receptions, 72 yards. So did Utah do enough to get the victory? I believe they did. But at the end of the day, USC made the plays and they got it done. You know, they got it done. It was a crazy game. It was madness in the building. It was madness. But big ups to USC, closing out strong week 8 on that Sunday there, and ultimately boosting their chances in that Pac-12. I mean, the Pac-12 is pretty much up in the air right now. You know, I can't really call it. It's not a sure thing right now. We're just looking. Utah had just that 1 loss on their belt, so they were looking pretty high. But now with 2 losses, starting to bring them down a bit. And Oregon, remember, with just 2 losses as well, but 6 wins, they're going to now take over that conference. And they feel like that's where they belong. What's going on, RFL? I see you in here too, KC. So yeah, and then also, I don't know. I just feel like this USC team is just a real sleeper, guys. I feel like this is a team you don't want to sleep on, and they can really give you some fits. They can really give you some fits. And then, guys, we're going to move on to our game of the week. Of course, guys, you know, we had that good old ACC showdown between Clemson and Miami. And I'm sure most of you guys were there. That was one of our bigger games that we've had so far. Week 8 showdown, Clemson, Miami, ACC, both teams coming in hot. Miami coming in on 4 straight. Clemson trying to get 3 straight. And ultimately, Clemson comes away with their 3rd victory in a row. 5-2 record, 4-3 for Miami. Big time ACC game that's going to shift some things in the conference. 16-13, Sean Henry. A lot of injuries. Remember, guys, the whole O-line went out. The whole O-line said, we're through. Even Sean Henry almost tapped out. But he came back and sealed the deal. 23 for 43, 257 yards, no touchdowns, but no interceptions. Both Sanders and a running back week, he's going to get in on the mix. 32 attempts, 137 yards. Mamadou even catching 6 passes for 72 yards. Eric Alcorn still struggling to get that ball down the field this season. Just 14 for 22, 180 yards. And you know what? I'm not too mad at the 14 for 22. Might have to get a little more aggressive, though, passing that ball. But 2 interceptions is what I got to scold him for. Those 2 interceptions were big time, and guess what? Both of those interceptions went to that man right there, the Prince of Picks, number 6, Princeton Butler, on the cover. So you got to be careful. He played with fire, and he got burned twice. Allen over here on 71 yards, 17 attempts and a touchdown. He had a pretty solid night. D12, wish we could have seen a little more of Jashawn McKnight, but at the end of the day, it wasn't called for the sophomore to get in and do his thing. Aiden McKenzie, however, had a solid 3 catches, probably 3 of the best catches he'll ever have, for 91 yards there. Had that long ball over my guy, Damari Jones. I know you probably didn't want me to bring that one up, but Aiden McKenzie with a nice catch over there to the right side of the field to get Miami some momentum going. But in the end, the Tigers close out week 8 with the win. Now 5-2 after what seemed to be a struggling season. You know, a lot of people just aren't convinced right now because they haven't really truly put together their best game of football on both sides of the ball. So I feel like they've been winning games off talent alone at this point. And of course, their kicker has bitten them a few times, but he ultimately came through and was the hero of the night on this one, sealing that field goal to get the victory for the Clemson Tigers here, guys. And you know, I gotta run that good old one back for the final rundown here. So now that we got our games out the way, guys, I do want to take a look at our players of the week for this week on the offensive side of the ball. Let's see who we have here. Who do we have on the offensive side? We got my guy Tamar Jones is going to take it for offense, and Anthony Hill Jr. for defense. So if you can remember that Texas game, this kid was awesome. Freshman defensive end here, 8 tackles, 6 tackles for a loss, and 5 sacks. This kid was bringing the pressure, and he was not letting up. He had this dude Shane Day in shambles. This kid was scared. He was nervous. He didn't know what to do, and he was pressured all night long, and that's why this kid's going to go ahead and grab the award for the week. And of course, Tamar Jones has been an ultimate workhorse for the Oregon Ducks, getting themselves a big-time Pac-12 win over over UCLA. 35 attempts, 261 rushing yards, and 1 touchdown. So big ups to Tamar Jones. If you know anybody else who had a big-time week, go ahead and put them down in the comments. Who else do you think could have been up for these 2 awards? I do believe I want to shout out Princeton Butler. He might have been my runner-up there for Defensive Player of the Week with his 2 interceptions. And I also want to shout out, it was a lot of running backs that did their thing. Ah, man. I don't know. I'm going to have to save that one for the comments because I can't choose which running back I liked more this week other than Tamar Jones. Probably Zach Tank. Maybe Zach Tank. But he had a day as well. So this would have been a tough award to give, but I do believe tomorrow on a big stage, Tamar Jones deserved it. Friday Night Lights. He did his thing. 20 yards short. Yeah, man. Almost there, brother. Almost there. Almost there. All right, let's check out. Let me see what we got to do here, guys. Let's check out our top 5. Let's release our newest and latest top 5 rankings, fellas. Let's get those out to you right about now. All right. Let me get these off. Okay, so let me know how you guys feeling about this new top 25, fresh off the press. Week 9, going into week 9. What do we have? What are we looking at? What are we looking at here, guys? Of course, we got Ohio State and Michigan at the top 2 spots at 7-0 on the season. But then we got our mid-tier right there. We got not even our mid-tier. We got another tier with Oregon just sitting alone at 6-2. But we have all of our 2-loss teams right here. Oklahoma 5-2, Utah 5-2, Clemson 5-2, Florida 5-2. In the chat, I need to know, what is the best 2-loss team? Or I should say, what's the best 5-2 team that we see on the board here? We're going to put Oregon one step above right now. We're going to give them credit for that extra win. But who do we have here, the best 5-2 team right now on the screen, with USC, Texas, Florida State, and North Carolina coming in the next crop of teams there? Who are we selecting out of that bunch of guys right there? If you had to ask me, out of USC, Texas, Florida State, and North Carolina, wow, that's tough. 2 tough ACC teams right there. Florida State scares me with the checkdowns from Dixon a lot. North Carolina's a good comeback team. They have some weapons. Ronnie Marks is tough. But do I trust him is the question. Casey, Cinco, Cardenas, both of these dudes are dogs. Jackson Bell is a dog. And so is Action Jackson. But I got to take Texas. If I was going to take 5-3 teams, I would take Texas first, USC second. But then you get a little, now things get a little chippy here with Miami, Tennessee, Alabama, Georgia. That whole little area right there, those 3 SEC teams and that 1 ACC team, that right there is going to be tricky when we come down the stretch with Miami, Tennessee. That's why this week is such a big week. I mean, every week from here on out is huge. But this week in particular is huge, especially for Tennessee. Just to see and Tennessee, and who was it? I'm over here tripping right now. Let me bring up the schedule actually. And LSU, right? So we might as well take a look at the schedule anyway while it's up. Week 9, guys. So I did drop it in the Discord, but for you guys out there watching, here is the week 9 schedule. And LSU and Tennessee, I just want to talk about the importance of this game. Both teams need a win. They need it bad. Tennessee getting this win would definitely, you know, help solidify a spot in that SEC and continue to prove us wrong that the SEC might just make the playoffs this season. LSU, this is now or never. This is all or nothing. This is, we have to win out. We have to go on a run and win every single game to even be considered or thought of for the playoffs. So big time game starting out for Thursday. You guys want to tap in and tune into that. Then we go over to Friday Night Lights matchup between Alabama and USC. Another big time game. USC known to knock off some giants, known to knock off some good teams this season. 5-3 right now, just coming off a fresh win against Utah. Alabama been struggling quite a bit, trying to find their footing again. Started off hot, got a little cold. Now they've been a little bit, you know, win, lose, win, lose. So right now, this is a big tester game for Bama to get back on track. Wisconsin, Ohio State. Of course, I'm looking for Ohio State to just absolutely dominate Wisconsin here to kick off the Super Saturday games. Texas A&M and Oklahoma State, that's going to be a pretty good game. You guys let me know in the comments too your predictions on all these games as well. Then I'll go ahead and read over some of these too for as we wrap up here. But Texas and TCU, I'm taking Texas all day to go ahead and get that victory. Oklahoma State, Texas A&M, I'm taking Oklahoma State to keep it up with their ranked 24, so I'm going to go with our ranked team there. Washington, Utah, I'm going to take Utah to bounce back after that tough loss last week to USC. They're going to go ahead and get Washington. But can Washington take a little bit of momentum from their first win and take it on the road to Utah and get a W? We'll see. Auburn, North Carolina, that's going to be a scrappy game. Make sure you guys check that one out. Closing out our 1 p.m. games. That is going to be a scrappy game. Auburn is always a tough team. They're going to always fight. Very tough defensively. But UNC, as you know, they made that good comeback. And they are a great offensive team with a lot of weapons on the receiving end. So you want to watch out for North Carolina now sitting in at 11 on the season. Penn State, Florida State. 2 teams that started off high there and starting to fall down the ranks a little bit. Florida State took that loss, falling down to 10. Penn State take a couple losses in the last couple weeks, down to 17. This game means a lot for both of these teams here, as Florida State trying to get their 6th win and Penn State trying to go for 5 and possibly start to climb back up. Michigan, number 2. Iowa, number 22. It's 2s across the board here. We got Nyshawn Airtime Miller versus KJ Smith. So KJ Smith, remember, coming off that excellent game, they had a bye week just like Ohio State after just a spectacular performance from this kid. I believe, what do you have, guys? 5 to 6 touchdowns, maybe 7. I don't know. I started losing count at some point, just rushing touchdowns, passing touchdowns. He was a magician out there, and he was just absolutely cooking them. And it's going to be a nice game to watch. I mean, Iowa has a lot of potential, you know, a lot of good guys. MVG, Shady, of course. Shady coming off 163 yards rushing. So it's just going to be dependent on momentum for this one. This is going to be a home game for Iowa. If they can go and snatch the momentum right out the gate, if they can get Shady Houston going, if they can get, you know, Nyshawn moving in the pocket a little bit and hit the MVG and a couple of those receivers, they might have a shot. But at the end of the day, we know Michigan's very tough on defense and their offense is cold. So I got to take Michigan on this one. And again, I'm taking Florida State in that other game because Penn State's offense, I'm just not, it's scaring me too much. 7 points, 0 points. I'm taking Florida State. Even though Florida State scares me too sometimes. They tend to lose leads. But I'm going Florida State. Auburn, North Carolina, I am going to go. That's tough. That is tough because Auburn's tough. But I'm going to go North Carolina. I'm going to go North Carolina. Iowa, Michigan, I'm taking Michigan. Oklahoma, Notre Dame, man, Notre Dame, I just feel like they're just coming up against tough teams week after week. And I feel like they're going to fall to Oklahoma. But Oklahoma's been struggling a little bit. That last game they played, they had to get out of there. They had to go bye week ASAP because that game got ugly for them last time out. And maybe they learned a lesson from that game, and they're going to be coming back, bouncing back, and showing us why they're a top 5 team or top 4 team in the nation. But I will be taking the Sooners in that game. And then we're going to go over to UCLA, Michigan State to close out our Super Saturday premiere games where you have Michigan State at 20 and UCLA at 21. So it's very even matchup. In this game, I think I'm going to take Michigan State. I just think they're dogs. You know, they could have easily won last week. So could have. Actually, UCLA, no, I don't think they had a chance. So Michigan State, I feel like they're going to take this win. UCLA is a little shaky to me. Michigan State is pretty tough. They got a lot of good core guys. Again, I don't even know how they lost last week, but they did give up a lead, and Florida was able to bounce back. And speaking of Florida, Georgia SEC matchup is going down Saturday night, guys. I'm talking, you guys need to show up for this SEC matchup, guys. We got one of those good old classics might be brewing. We got the Florida Gators on the road, number 7 in the nation, taking a 5-2 record to Athens to take on the streaking Bulldogs. I think it's 3 in a row now for Georgia at number 15 in the nation, looking for a big time 5th win. This would be a huge win for UGA. March 9th at 9 p.m. It's going down. Make sure you guys tune in for the Bulldogs versus the Gators Saturday night. As we move along to Sunday night, March 10th, 9 p.m., we got Miami and Colorado. Miami trying to bounce back from that close loss to Clemson in that ACC showdown just past Monday. As Colorado comes in off a fresh win, these guys have been looking good. They've been looking comfortable. Tim Ricks under center has been pretty good for the Buffaloes all season long, coming off 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. Corey Polley, 100 yards. Dylan Edwards, 144 yards. So this offense has been cooking. The defense is very solid as well. Guys like Kyrie Johnson and Zion Anderson Jr., Jay Johnson, Bryson Jones, CJ Duffy, one of those lockdown DBs out there. So it's going to be a scrappy game. And this is another one of those games where I fear if Miami doesn't get rolling on offense, this Colorado team is not going to be coming to play with them. And it's going to be in Boulder. So the crowd is going to be lit. Colorado is going to have the upper hand, the momentum. And it could get shaky for Miami very quickly if Eric Alcorn doesn't bring his A game. He needs to bring his A game. This defense is no joke. They're no slouch at all. They are coming with it, and the offense is starting to match here in the second half of the season. Miami's defense is stellar. I think they'll hold it down. I think they're going to give Tim Ricks a run for his money. But at the end of the day, they need to stop Dylan Edwards from rushing that football, and they need to lock in on Tim Ricks, but they must move the chains. And that is going to be the key for Miami throughout the rest of the season, is how this offense responds to every defense in the nation that comes their way, and can they help give this team wins. I mean, that's all they need. They just need the offense to wake up, and it's go time. Defense is stellar. And now we're going to close out with my Monday matchup, game of the week. Clemson again on the primetime stage, now bumped up to number 6 in the nation against number 3 Oregon. We got two lost teams going at it, so this will definitely be able to like help us decipher which of those teams were better, those 2 lost teams, because now we have them clashing right now. Clemson 5-2, Oregon 6-2. Clemson now the top of their conference, Oregon now the top of their conference. So these teams are newly top of their conference, but one team must lose tonight or that night. And you guys let me know in the comments, what do you guys think? Is it going to be Clemson or Oregon taking this win Monday night? This is a big time matchup. Talking Sean Henry, we talking Corey Baines, we got Tamar Jones, we got Bo Sanders, 2 of the most elite running backs in the nation about to go toe to toe. Defense are incredible for both sides of the ball. Oregon forcing 5 turnovers, Clemson forcing 5 turnovers the other night, 3 fumbles, 2 interceptions. It's going to be madness. Clemson's finding themselves in some fights now, week after week. Now this happens now when you want to be the best and you start to win those games and those records start to hit. You start finding yourself these tough games. And right now, Clemson, they've been winning them. They've been knocking them off. They're looking for 4 straight victories. They're looking for to beat Oregon. Oregon, very tough young core right there. So that is going to be a showdown. You guys make sure you come out Monday night, March 11th at 9 p.m. Eastern. You want to come out and check out Clemson versus Oregon. You definitely don't want to miss it. In the comments, guys, I need to know, who do you guys have, Clemson or Oregon? I need to know, guys, as they close out week 9. And I'm hoping a thriller. I'm hoping they close it out in a thriller. It's going to be a tough fight. Both of these teams, only 2 losses on the season. It is going to be a fight. I can tell you that, guys. I can tell you that as we pull up the rankings one more time, guys. You check out the full top 25 here. Let me know if anything shocks you or surprises you here on this lineup. Top 2 teams are still rolling undefeated. Ohio State 7-0. Michigan 7-0. And then we got a few 2-loss teams, a few 3-loss teams, a lot of 3-loss teams, a few 4-loss teams, and a few 5-loss teams. So this week is definitely going to change a lot of things, because once you go into that 4-loss territory, it starts to get shaky. Evan says, what's your prediction for Oregon and Clemson? I didn't say. I tried to sneak past that one. Why'd you call me out? I tried to get over. Wow. Okay. What is my prediction for Clemson? I didn't even give my prediction for Miami, Colorado, or Florida and Georgia. I'm slacking. So Florida and Georgia, I'm taking Georgia. I'm taking Georgia for the upset. I think they're going to get Florida out of here. They're going to stop the Cinderella story. They're going to stop them. And it's going to be night-night. Miami, Colorado. Oh, I don't want to say this because I don't want my boys mad at me. I don't want the homies mad at me. But I'm taking the upset. I'm taking Colorado. Everything in me tells me to take Colorado because that Miami offense is scary. Like, not in a good way. And Colorado's got a defense on them. And I feel like that defense might turn them over. I feel like they might turn them over. And it could get ugly. And again, big ups to Miami. And I love the defense. And I love the players on the offense. Falana, one of my favorite guys in the league. D12. But that's tough. I just don't see him winning in Boulder. Maybe if it was a home game, right? But I don't see him going up to Boulder and winning that game. Not the way they've been performing on the offensive end. Just scraping out these games, you know. But I got to take Colorado. And then, like you said, that's going to lead me up to my last prediction here. And honestly, I gotta take Clemson. Yeah, I mean, I hope the line don't get hurt again. Did they drink the milk this week or what? But I'm gonna go Clemson. Shout out to my Oregon guys. I love Evans and I love Corey Baines. Of course, TJ, Tamar Jones, PFL legend right there for me. Oregon legend right there for me. You know what I mean? I love Oregon. But I think Clemson is rolling right now. Their defense is impeccable right now. I mean, Princeton Butler is locking everything up. And if he's on Davion Williams, and listen, I'm just saying, Corey Baines is going to have to come with it. This freshman quarterback is going to have to give it his all. TJ is going to have one of those nights because this is a defense that's going to be able to shut those lanes down. This is a defense that's going to be hitting a little bit different. They're going to be 3 fumbles last week. They're hitting a little bit different. They got Cena. They got some guys up front. It could get a little messy. So I don't know if Oregon's seen a defense like that this season so far. I could be wrong. Let me know. But ultimately, I got the Tigers coming out, handling business on the road, beating Oregon in a tight one. But I do have them coming out with the win against Oregon. Yeah, but it's gonna be a tough one. So again, one more look at that top 25, guys. One more look. Again, we take a look at our offensive, defensive players of the week. Tamar Jones. Speaking of Oregon, right? They're gonna need him big time in that game. They're gonna need him big time. All right, guys, and then I do want to just, before we get out of here, I do want to cover the conferences. I do want to go over conference rankings because right now, that is one of the most intriguing things I feel is going in the league right now, is just breaking down each conference right now. So we're going to just start with the ACC. We're going to go on down to the SEC, and then we're going to go ahead and get out of here, guys. Get a couple of questions in, and we're out. ACC, we're going to have Clemson taking over the ACC now with that victory, 5-2. Florida State with that loss is going to fall. North Carolina is going to move up. So 5-3 and 5-3. So again, keep an eye out on North Carolina. And I got them winning this week. So I got North Carolina sitting at 6-3. But I also got FSU sitting at 6-3 with a win over Penn State. So this will get tricky. I also got Clemson winning. So I got the top 3 teams winning here for 6 wins. So if that doesn't happen, it could get ugly right here really quick. Miami on the outside looking in right now at 4-3. And of course, these 2 guys down at the bottom, Notre Dame and NC State, they don't have a chance at all. But they are there, so we're going to acknowledge them. But Miami and North Carolina still fighting right there, even with Florida State. Clemson at the top now, taking over. Who do you guys have taking down and winning the ACC? No, it's not a record. I think someone told me it was 300. Yeah, another Oregon running back, actually. A former Oregon running back had over 300. So that's yet to be done. So TJ with a tough one. I think we had a couple of other like big time running games this year, over 250, 260, but I don't think not quite 300. So but a big time game, big time week for TJ nonetheless. So yeah, let's go ahead and move on, guys. You said you think Clemson's gonna hold on? All right, it's gonna get a little tricky out there. Clemson's got to start pulling away on some of these games. I don't like how they went in too close. It's starting to scare me a bit. But let's head over to that Big Ten, of course, guys. Everybody knows the Big Ten is smoking hot right now, especially with the top 2 teams. We're not gonna, I'm not discrediting the other teams, but we are looking at those 2 teams. Everybody's looking forward to that last week where we get a chance to see Michigan and Ohio State. And we want to know if one of these teams are going to drop the ball before they meet. Are they going to meet undefeated is the question. That should be a poll. Will Ohio State and Michigan meet up undefeated to see who finally gets that first loss? Because then it doesn't really, it still means something if, let's say, one team is 1 or 2 losses in, but like, it's just crazy. It'll just be nuts if both of them went into the game undefeated, because it's like literally someone has to lose for the first time in the season. So at this point, pressure's on, so 7-0, 7-0. Penn State struggling right now. I do believe Michigan State will catch them, if not Iowa. Iowa's got a big week ahead of them. They must win here, but I also have Michigan State winning this week as well. But I have Penn State losing. So I do have Michigan State moving to 3 and Iowa moving up to 4 this week. So we're going to have to see if they stay true. Again, Ohio State, Michigan, they could lose 2 or 3 games and still be in the same spot. So we don't even look at those top 2 when it comes to the Big Ten. Let's go ahead and take a look at the Big 12 here. And again, guys, who do you guys have taking that first L? Is it Ohio State or is it Michigan? As we go over to the Big 12, and we got Oklahoma at the top of the top, 5-2. But I'm telling you, Texas is heating up, and watch out for Colorado. I got Texas winning this week. I got all three of those guys winning this week, actually. So I got Colorado coming away with a 5-3 record, Texas 6-3, Oklahoma 6-2. Down the last three here, pretty struggle. It's a not even a pretty struggle. It's just a struggle. TCU, Oklahoma State, Texas A&M. They're gonna have to come back next year a lot stronger than what they're doing. But the top three, those teams can give you some smoke. Oklahoma, pretty solid team. Texas and Colorado. You got to watch out for all three of those teams because they can take you down in any conference. But ultimately, who do you guys have in coming on top of this conference? Who do you have winning this conference? Is it KC Robinson? Is it Donnie Johnson and Coop? Or is it Tim Ricks in the game? What's going on, Dior? Let's move on over, guys, to the Pac-12. Let's go out to the West Coast, of course, where things are heating up here. Oh, man, let's talk about the Pac-12. Oregon, 6-2, now taking over because Utah at 5-1 took an L to USC. So if it ever comes down to a tiebreaker there, we know who that goes to. But 5-2 for Utah, moving to 2. USC now getting their third or their fifth victory of the season at 5-3. And Oregon State, that was one of those tricky teams right there. Like I said, 4-4, but currently on a nice little win streak, and they look to continue that win streak. I think they finally get their first bye of the season, 8 straight games. So they do get a bye this week, but look for them to try to move up the rankings here. They are probably desperately hoping that SC takes a loss here soon in the next week or two. But you know, because then they can slide into that third spot and they can just continue to try to climb. But at the end of the day, Oregon, Utah, and USC sitting at the top of the Pac-12 right now. Who do you guys have taking this one here as we move to the final conference, which is the SEC, which is on the topic of discussion here as we check out the 8 teams in the conference? And this is one of the best conferences in the nation, normally on paper, on the field, but this is a struggling year for the SEC. Will the SEC miss the college football playoffs? That is the question. Do they have enough? Well, let's take a look. We know Ole Miss is out. We know Mississippi State is out. We know Auburn is out. Here's where things get chippy. Is LSU out? We don't know because Georgia could very well lose. Bama could very well lose. Tennessee could very well lose. These are teams that have shown us the ups and downs all season, the inconsistencies. Florida's the only safe team I feel right now, record-wise, I think that can win the SEC. But do they get into the playoffs? I'm not sure because I have Florida actually losing this week. I have Florida getting upset this week to Georgia. So I think SEC is just going to take each other out. They're going to take each other out, you know, because if Georgia beats Florida, now Florida has 3 losses, and now that's just bringing them down. If Tennessee beats LSU, now that just puts LSU completely out of the question. And if LSU beats Tennessee, now that puts Tennessee in that loop. So they're going to end up just taking each other out of the contention at this point. And I think we might not see SC this season, guys, in the playoffs. You guys got to let me know. How do you feel about the SEC? Will they make it into the playoffs this season with what you see on the board right here for the records? I'm going to give you guys a second to check that out and let me know if you think we will be having or hosting the playoffs with no SEC team. I'm talking no Georgia. Well, what my boy Stephen A say, Georgia. No Georgia, no LSU, no Alabama, no Texas, or no Tennessee, I'm sorry. That's crazy. So we've got to see what happens and what transpires in the next couple of weeks for the SEC, because it's going to be major when you look at what's happening and what's going on and how crazy it is right now in the SEC. You've got to think to yourself, will this be the first college series or the first playoffs with no SEC team? Has there been a playoffs with no SEC team before in the RFL College Series? That's something we need to look at. But Tyler says Ohio State, Michigan, Oregon. And either, yeah, I do want to know y'all early. Can we get an early college football playoff look? What's your 4 teams right now? If you guys could give me 4 teams right now, what's your 4 teams? Perk, slowly creeping up, Perk, slowly creeping up. But what are your 4 teams right now? If the playoffs started today or tomorrow, what would be your 4 college football playoff teams? Who's in? Of course, Michigan. Of course, Ohio State. Who's the other 2 teams that get in? Is it Utah? Is it Clemson? Is it Oregon? Who is it? He says Ohio State, Michigan, Oregon, Utah. Okay. That's not bad. I like that list. I like that list. I do like that list. Because, well, I don't know. Because, let me see. What about Oklahoma? How do you feel about Oklahoma? And then what about, see, because I got to see how Texas and USC finish. I need to see how they finish because USC can get a little scary sometimes. And Texas is a little tough. So if those 2 teams say they, for instance, they could like win out. If they could win out, it could get tricky. It could get tricky, really tricky. But I'm in on Ohio State, Michigan, Oregon. That 4th team is going to be tough. I got Oregon losing this week though. So you see, I already got it getting ugly. So I don't know. It's going to be ugly, guys. But you know, I don't know. But if you guys have any questions, that's it. That's all I have for you guys today. Again, guys, we got the high school mini series going. A lot of the pro players that unfortunately RFL Pro Series are taking a break. And we'll be back in well, I'm not sure when, but it'll be back at some point. And so for now, I've opened up a high school league where the pros are coming in, signing up, and starting new players off with a fresh high school career. So big ups to all you guys signing up and getting things rolling. We had a couple of scrimmages the other day, making some players. I will be back in the Discord, more than likely later tonight, and then tomorrow, again after the game and before the game, to make some more players and do some more scrimmages, man. So you guys make sure you tune in for that. If you're interested in that, hit me up, let me know, guys. Again, still sign up for CS7. I will have a new app out for CS7 for new guys who are just coming in looking to sign up for the next year's season in college. And as far as you guys that are in the Discord now, make sure you DM me so I can know who you are. The guys that I just added for CS7, let me know who you are so I can fix your name, fix your role, and introduce you to the rest of the chat and the rest of the community, guys. But at the end of the day, that's my time, man. It's your boy Zeke. It's been a great one, guys. Another great week in the books, guys, for our podcast series, Turmoil, and Conference Play. The SEC is in trouble, guys. And I'm out. Peace.